New Zealand's updated clinical guidelines for gender affirming healthcare were set to be released at the end of March, but with less than a day to go, the rollout was suddenly and indefinitely delayed with no clear explanation. The revised guidelines had been submitted by the Professional Association for Transgender Health, Aotearoa PATHA, back in October and had already cleared approvals from Health New Zealand's National Clinical Governance Group and Executive Leadership Team. At the same time, the government had signalled it was looking into whether puberty blockers should be more tightly regulated. The Ministry of Health opened public submissions asking whether more precautions were needed and what the impact might be on young people. This week, a group of health professionals, medical bodies and community organisations signed an open letter calling for the new guidelines to be published. In the meantime, the 2018 guidelines are still a go-to reference for gender affirming care in the country. Jill Ovens, she's a regular on the show, love to catch up with her, is from the Women's Rights Party. And Jill, hello.
Hello.
It's been a while, Jill. Lovely to talk to you. Jill, what do you make of the updated gender affirming healthcare guidelines 2 months late from being released? Any ideas, thoughts?
Well, there's a lot to consider, isn't there? Because there was that 4-year study, the CAS review,
Yep.
which the Ministry of Health needed to take into account, and you know, PATHA, which is the Professional Association for Transgender Health in New Zealand, which is part of WPATH, the worldwide organisation, which has been well and truly discredited with the release of the WPATH files, which showed that there is no consensus around gender affirming care. There's a lack of evidence, and but this group, PATHA, was actually contracted by the Ministry of Health to write these guidelines and to review them. And they describe themselves as a professional association of interdisciplinary people. But in fact, they're an activist body. And if you go on their website, you see that their goal is to normalise gender identity, transgender health as not being a medical issue at all.
Yeah.
And so they want people to be able to take puberty blockers on demand. And remember, when you're talking about puberty blockers, we're talking about kids who haven't gone through puberty yet.
Yes.
And there's,
Jill,
there's no evidence that they actually alleviate the symptoms. And there's a lot of harm that's done by taking puberty blockers, which inevitably lead to cross-sex hormones.
Yeah.
And puberty is really important in kids' development. It's a huge part of brain development of bone structures. It's not just about the secondary sex characteristics, you know, growing hair and having a voice that drops down if you're a girl who takes testosterone.
Jill, then this delay, are you saying you see it as a good thing, maybe a sign the ministry's reconsidering its approach? Or conversely, they're not wanting to deal with it?
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly the latter. But it's important that they don't get pressured by activist groups that are trying to make these puberty blockers just available on demand. When this could be another unfortunate experiment, and you know, so it is important that they look at all the evidence. But I know that they did put out an evidence brief late last year, and that was revised because of the CAS review. But internationally, countries are moving away from use of puberty blockers for this purpose. I mean, they are used for other purposes. And one of them is precocious puberty, where it's paused for a while and then the children do go through puberty. But that's not the case when they use it for so-called gender dysphoria. The kids, 90-something% go on to take cross-sex hormones, which it is irreversible.
Yeah. Oh. Jill, there was talk last year of regulating puberty blockers while we're talking about that.
Yes.
Do you know As of
That's what this is
today,
about, really.
yeah, as of today, how many young Kiwis are still being prescribed them?
No, I don't have those figures, but
Mm.
we know that the level of the young people who detransition
Yeah.
and try to stop taking them is actually much higher than what the transgender activists would like us to believe. It may be in the order of 20 to 30%, and it's heartbreaking when you see these young people putting out videos to each other talking about the effects that it's had and how they haven't been able to go back to normal,
Yeah.
to the way they
Hey,
were.
yeah.
I
Oh
just
gosh.
wanted to comment on the people who signed this
Yes.
latest thing.
Yes.
It
Yes.
seems that it was an online petition just by the number of individuals who have signed it. And actually, I'm looking at something. You can add your signature using the form below. I noticed that in the list of so-called medical associations is the NZNO, which is the Nurses Union,
Oh.
and I know they have a professional side looking at professional issues for nurses, but I really question whether groups like NZNO should be adding their name as a medical expert organisation.
Yes.
And so I think that list needs to be looked at. And so the list of individuals who have signed is quite extensive, which makes me think maybe there was an online petition and that
Right.
people may not have read the guidelines, because what's being talked about is version 8 of the World WPATH guidelines, which was roundly discredited. It's got a section on eunuchs, which we all know from movies around Spartacus time, where they, in the Romans, had eunuchs where they, castrated them.
Yes.
So that they would look after the harems or the women, because they're not going to get the women pregnant. Anyway, the whole idea of eunuchs is pretty shocking, really. It's not something that most of us would think is normal behaviour. And the other thing about what they call SOC 8, which is the 8th version, is that it removed the age restrictions recommendations. And that is really interesting, because I've probably talked to you about 2022 in the Labor Party, when we had a Labor Women's Network meeting in Auckland, and we wanted to put an age restriction on gender reassignment surgery and gender health. And we wanted to say that that was rejected by the Labor Party hierarchy. So it makes you think all these things that happen locally are actually part of much bigger international forces. I know I sound like a conspiracy theorist, but when I when I read about this version, because they just want to take away the boundaries around our children.